we'll try to discuss them today. Okay. Now, G00 rapid positioning. G00 is rapid positioning. When the tool is moving from its initial position to the required position where you want to locate, that will be by G00. That is rapid positioning. Without having any kind of control, it has to move. You should not take any kind of the velocity, acceleration, whatever the controlled movement, it is not required. Directly, it will be moving from the home position to the required position directly, correct? Without wasting the time. That is called G01. And G02 is circular. G02. What is this G02? G02. Circular interpolation clockwise. G02 is circular interpolation clockwise. See, look here. While it is measuring the material, I wanted to do the measuring of material. This is the pressure radius. Okay. It is the traversing path, and this is the cutter. Please understand, from this tool axis, whether the right portion is engaged in measuring or left portion is engaged in measuring, we have to see this. So definitely the left portion is engaged in measuring, correct? No? So it is cutter compensation to the left and cutter compensation to the right, that matter will come, correct? No? And G01 is circular interpolation clockwise and G02 is circular interpolation in counterclockwise. So whether it has to take the clockwise rotation or counterclockwise rotation, that will be decided based on the profile of the geometry. We are going to select G01 or G02. Okay, and just instead of leaving the whole portion, at least we have to discuss some program part of it. Already during the theory portion of the practicals we have discussed. And what is G04? G04. Mostly you have not come across while doing the program there. It is dwell. Dwell in the sense, within the material itself, without doing any kind of measuring, which will be traversing the tool. G04. And G20 and G21. What are these? G20 and G21. See, while you are going for the measuring aspect, sometimes the dimensions of the product will be, or part will be given in terms of inches and sometimes in terms of mm. These two are possible. These two are possible. The machine can accept both the ways. Correct? Now, if you go to the European countries, they will be using the inches and feet. We will be using meters, mm, all this. So machine should be conventionally ready to give or accept both the kind of dimensions. So G20 is input in terms of inches and G21 is input in terms of mm. Okay, this is your duty, you have to remember. I don't want to remember. While teaching, I will be remembering them. It is your duty, you have to remember so that you can able to do the programming in the lab as well as in the class also. Okay, and the G40, G41, G42. G40, G41 and G42. What are these? Just I was discussing here, from the tool axis, whether the right portion of it is engaged in machining or left portion of it is engaged in machining. That should be taken. Correct, no? And why it is necessary, please tell me? Because the cutter compensation, the radius have to be taken into account. While you are going to do a profile cutting, suppose if you have selected a 40 mm diameter cutter, you have to take 20 mm extra. If you have selected 50 mm cutter, you have to select 25 mm extra. So that should not happen. All these compensations will be taken care by the machine itself. What actually the geometry of the profile that has to be given as input by the programmer. The remaining compensations will be taken by the machine itself. What kind of tool you are going to select, based on that it will be creating the offset. You understood my point? So G40 is cutter compensation cancel. G40 indicates it is cutter compensation cancel. And G41 indicates cutter compensation to the left. G41 indicates cutter compensation to the left. In this case, the tool is traversing in this direction, whether it is rotating counterclockwise or clockwise. It is based on the, again, profile of the tooth. It is okay. You know, the up milling or down milling. Up milling in the sense the material will be removed like this. Down milling is material will be removed like this. And definitely the profile, the cutting edges will be different. Whether the cutter is a multi-point cutting tool or single point cutting tool. How many of you say it is a single point cutting tool? Here no marks, nothing, just a discussion. What is called as single point cutting tool? A particular point will be engaged in removing the material. It is single point cutting tool. Almost all the tools, we are going to use them in the lathe. The turning operation, those will be single point cutting tools. And if there are more than one edges or point, those will be in action or engaged in removing the material, those will be multi-point cutting tool. Of course, if it is a parallel axis of the arbor, then a line will be in contact, but it will not happen. So it will be in the spiral shape, so that once at a time the whole load will not be acting on the cutting tool. Correct, no? If you have the tool like this, okay, this portion of the tool is engaged, this portion, and when it rotates next like that. So once at a time, whole tool will not be engaged in the cutting. Correct, no? So that they are creating the profile or some angular shape for the arbors. Now there are so many thin profile, those will be engaged in cutting action, so that it will be called as multi-point cutting tool. It is. Please remember, it is multi-point cutting tool. A grinding wheel is multi-point or single point? Grinding, a single wheel will be there. Multi-point, because it will be having the adhesive, the active grains will be there. Those will be bounded together. Okay, all these silicon these grains, those will be very active in removing the material in the form of powder. Correct, no? So those are the multi-point cutting tools. Okay, so G41 is cutter compensation to the left. Why? What is the meaning of compensation? Cutter compensation. The cutter compensation is very important. As I told you, when you are going to select different the cutters in a particular program only, if you are going to select more than 3 to 4 diameter cutters, and each time the programmer has to worry about how much offset he has to give, it should not happen. So the programmer duty is only to consider the profile, actual profile, and do the programming. The remaining compensations will be taken care by the CNC machines. If it is 20 mm diameter, each side it will be given 10 mm the offset, and the profile will be, imaginary profile will be created, and based on that the tool axis will be moving. Okay, so in this case the cutter compensation is to the left. If the tool is direction of movement in this side, and you can see that I am standing like this, so the right portion of the tool is engaged in the removing the material. So that is cutter compensation to the right. You understood? G40 is cutter compensation cancel. G41 is cutter compensation to the left, and G42 is cutter compensation to the right. These, okay. And next, once after this, one can think about the tool length while we are going to use the drilling operations. Where we are going to do the drilling operations. Definitely, the metal will be in contact with the metal. Even though the tool is harder, while removing the metal, what happens in terms of microns, the tool will wear out. On how much it has gone up, it is not possible to measure by the actual tools. We cannot find out the differences. How much exactly the tool length was earlier. So after 4 or 5 seconds or spontaneously while doing the cutting action is in progress, it is not possible to measure the actual length of the tool. But we have given the tool length. How much the peg drilling? The meaning of peg drilling, you know? The peg drilling is we are going to move the tool and take it out, and move it 5 mm and take it out, and again move it another 5 mm and take it out. Like that, slowly we are going to remove the metal in terms of 5 mm or 2 mm, 2 mm, 2 mm. Why we do this? There will be a lot of heat will be generated. One thing, and another one, there is no provision for the removal of the scrap. If it is a continuous scrap, what happens? The scrap will be squeezed inside, the tool will break. So that if you make a peg drilling, what happens? That 5 mm how much of metal is coming, that metal will be discontinued, it will be coming out. So that there will not be a continuous scrap generated. So the active point which will be engaged in removing the material will be active one. You understood? So whatever the case it may be, after using for some few number of cycles, the tool will wear out, and it is not possible that manually it is not possible to inspect the length of the tool and make the compensation. For example, you say this is the table, this is the table. On this table, we have kept the material, and this is the fitting tool, okay, and this is the machine. Now, going towards the material is Z plus Z or minus Z? Getting to the material plus or minus? Okay. Now, please look here. For example, this distance earlier was, the earlier distance was, for example, 20 mm was the earlier distance. I want to remove the material for 5 mm distance. So that what happens? I am going to use the distance of 25 mm. Whether it is plus or minus, I don't want to confuse you here. Now, after using for 10 holes, the tool length has been decreased by 0.5 mm. It is not observable. Just I am giving you the example. Now, what happens? If I use the 20 mm, what happens? 25, it will go only for 24.5 mm because the tool length has been reduced. Correct? No? So it will not happen because online inspection sensors will be provided. Those sensors will be well built within the system itself. And if there is continuously, while it is working, as I told you, online inspection, the online inspection of the quality, the online inspection of the tools, everything will be done spontaneously within the system itself. It is a closed loop system. So if there is a change in the micron length in the length of the tool, that will be compensated itself. That compensation will be taken care by this one. So that will be provided once you have taken tool length compensation. You understood? So in the bio also it will be very, very important for you. What is the tool length compensation? The tool length compensation is, it will be compensating the tool length. Due to number of cycles it is working, what happens? The drill bit, it will be wear out. So that will be taken care. While I am doing the another one,